Hello, Garland Nixon here, and apparently there's something going on in the Middle East. It appears that Iran has retaliated against the U.S. for the airstrikes. It certainly appears as though, sorry about that, as though there, I think, some missiles hitting Qatar. So let's talk. Hello, Garland Nixon here. And of course, I had to come on. It's about 900 million degrees here in the state of Maryland. Actually, it's like 101 or something crazy. It's supposed to be 102, 3, whatever the case may be. So I was running around doing some odds and ends. It's cooking outside. I, get home, stop and look, and I see that there is some reports of explosions in Qatar, explosions in the air. Apparently, the Iranians have elected to do something that a lot of people thought they wouldn't, right? So we talked, and also, I'll say I was one of the ones who predicted that they wouldn't. I felt like the U.S. is throwing bait out to them, and that my thought on it was that the United States is going to, do these bombings and then wait for Iran to respond and then say, okay, we've got the casus belli, we've got every reason that we need to go in and join Israel. Additionally, I read a couple of other things that I read. I'll throw out there as to where we are here. Apparently, it appears that the Israelis might have said something to the Iranians, or through intermediaries kind of said something to the Iranians about ending these conflict in a couple of days. And apparently the Iranians gave them a negative response, something to the effect of, we're going to continue forward, right? These are things that are all, out there right now. I just wanted to know that's one of the things that's out there that we're starting to hear. I don't have anything definitive on it, but as soon as I get something more definitive, I'll update you. Apparently there was also a Wall Street article that was of great consequence. And let me tell you why. Wall Street Journal, apparently they had a report about what happens in the days and hours before the attack on Iran. According to the Wall Street Journal, interestingly enough, Donald Trump relied on Lindsey Graham. And Lindsey Graham, according to the Wall Street Journal, told Donald Trump something to the effect of, you need to do this after the debacle in Afghanistan. You need to show the world that, we're back and we're tough, and that there's a new sheriff in town. Now, if in fact that is true, which it wouldn't shock me, because that sounds like the kind of idiotic thing that Lindsey Graham would say. I mean, let's face it, he's a guy that's always trying to act macho. He's the tough guy. He's the warmonger. He's the bad dude. Almost if he's got something to hide, one might say. But whatever the case may be, Donald Trump apparently, according to Wall Street Journal, relied on the advice of Lindsey Graham for that strike. Now, that tells you something right there, because you've got people around him who are MAGA, Maha, I don't know, whatever the hell, you name it, right? People who are supposedly, allegedly, ostensibly not in favor of more wars and America first and things of that nature. That's what we hear. What we see, keep in mind, this is what I'm saying. What we hear is that Donald Trump doesn't, he's not a warmonger. Donald Trump has people around him who are MAGA people who don't want another war. That's what we hear. What we see is the same damn thing we get from George W. Bush, the same thing we get from Obama, the same thing we get from Biden. So what we hear is one thing. What we see is the same old thing. So let me see what I got here. Some of the things I'm looking at. Iran reportedly hitting U.S. military bases in Qatar. Breaking, Iran has closed its airspace as well. Iraq has closed its airspace, joining the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, and Kuwait. Breaking, Iran fires missiles at U.S. bases in Qatar. Apparently people in Qatar are flying and running all over the place. They got pictures of that online. Let's see. Chaos in Qatar after Iran attack. Qatar has witnessed the first attack in its history. Let me see. Fire breaks out at the Al Udeid air base in Qatar. So it seems there may have been some strike. Iran launched missiles at a U.S. military base in Qatar on Monday, retaliating for American airstrikes that targeted Iranian nuclear facilities over the weekend. Sirens sounding across 8 Middle East countries in fears of a wider escalation. So basically, what we see is let's check Iran's. We'll look at Iran's. Okay, this is from Iran. This is from Iran news. Let me read what they're saying in the Iranian news, so you'll get it straight from the horse's mouth. Iranian news reports the following. Iranian armed forces have launched a missile barrage at American military bases in Qatar in a retaliatory operation a day after Iranian nuclear sites were targeted by U.S. bombers. So this is coming straight from the horse's mouth. In a statement following the successful retaliatory operation codenamed Tidings of Victory, Iranian armed forces said it came in response to the blatant military aggression by the criminal regime of the United States against the nuclear facilities of the Islamic Republic. The statement described the U.S. aggression as a clear violation of international law and added that under the directive of the Supreme National Council and the command of the Qayyim al-Anbiya Central Headquarters, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, using the sacred code Ya Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, launched a powerful and devastating missile strike on the Al Udeid base in Qatar. This base serves as the headquarters of the U.S. Air Force Command and represents the most strategic asset of the American military in West Asia. The message of this decisive act, for those who don't know, I'm reading directly from Iranian news. The message of this decisive action by the sons of the nation and the armed forces to the White House and its allies is clear and direct, the statement noted, adding that the Islamic Republic of Iran, quote, will never leave any violation of its territorial integrity, sovereignty, or national security unanswered. So I think you see what they're saying here. And you understand, if you understand the Shiite religion, if you understand that the foundation of the Shiite religion is two words, never humiliation. If you ever listen to a Malcolm X, right, and you heard the kind of things, the philosophy behind Shia Islam, you understand. Look at the Yemenis. You're not going to intimidate these people. They're not scared. They're not afraid of death. They're not afraid of a fight. And if you punch them, they're going to punch back. And what you do is up to you. But they're going to punch back as a matter of their honor, as a matter of their respect, as a matter of not being humiliated. Let me continue. It further said that the American enemy's aggression has exposed to all that Zionist malice is simply a continuation of U.S. strategy, while reminding all that in this national defense, American military, listen to this, reminding all that in this national defense, Americans' military bases and assets in the region are not points of strength, but critical vulnerabilities, the Achilles heel of this warmongering regime. And I have to say, if you've been watching my videos, that is something that I've said for a while. There was a time when you surrounded Russia with bases, surrounded China, surrounded Iran with bases, and you, quote, you're going to remember the thing, the boa constrictor, the python, you're going to get around them with these bases and you're going to squeeze them out, right? And there was a time when those bases were where you were able to project power. Now they're sitting ducks. And Iran says that. It says, in this national defense, American military bases and assets in the region are not points of strength, but critical vulnerabilities, the Achilles heel of the warmongering regime. Now, as the U.S. contemplates what it's going to do next, it's got to know its bases are going to get hit. America knows if we throw a punch at Iraq, you know they're throwing a punch back. You know that in Iran, excuse me, you know they're throwing a punch back. No doubt about it. Let me continue. We've got on the eve of the month of Muharram, the time of mourning for the master of martyrs, Imam Abba Abdullah al-Hussein, We once again warn the enemies of Islamic Iran that the era of hit and run is over, the armed forces stated. So they're saying, and you got to understand them. You got to respect that. As a man, what am I going to do? If I let some guy just walk up and push me and I say, you're bigger than me, I'm scared of you, I'm not going to do anything, he's just going to keep pushing me. He's just going to keep doing it. If you push me, I'm pushing back. If you push me, you got a fight on your hands. Even if I lose, guess what? People don't oftentimes want to fight a guy who's willing to fight, even if they know they can beat him. A lot of times a bully just wants to push somebody around. They don't really want the fight per se. And if somebody says, I'm willing to scrap, a lot of times they'll go push somebody else. So what the Iranians are saying is this. Listen to this. We once again warn the enemies of Islamic Iran that the era of hit and run is over. They're saying if you hit us, we're going to hit you back every single time. Not occasionally, not once. I didn't think they would do it. I thought they'd be a little more strategic, but I understand the strategy in that. What is the old saying? Peace through strength. It is a strategy of strength. It's a strategy of saying, if you want to fight, you'll get one. We don't want to fight. We have no desire for a fight. But if you want to fight, you're going to get a fight. Is that what you really want? You better think before you swing at us whether you really want to fight. Let me continue. The statement noted that the will of the powerful people back. Now I'm reading directly from Iranian sources. The statement noted that the will of the powerful people-backed armed forces is such that any repeat of these hostile actions will only hasten the collapse of America's military presence in the region. They're telling you, if you come after them, they're going to hit your bases. That's what they're saying. You come after us, we're going to hit your bases. Lead to their disgraceful retreat from West Asia and fulfill the shared dream of the Islamic Ummah and freedom-loving nations. They crack me up the way they write. The eradication of the cancerous Zionist entity, right? Teetering on the brink of defeat, the Israeli regime involved Americans on Sunday to target 3 Iranian nuclear sites in Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordow, which amounts to a grave violation of the UN Charter, international law, and the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. They're right. They're right. They're saying you attacked us and what you did was illegal. Okay? The American assault came in more than a week after the Israeli regime launched an unprovoked and unlawful aggression against the Islamic Republic, leading to the assassination of many top-ranking military commanders, scientists, and ordinary civilians. In Iran, in response, Iranian armed forces have since June 13 targeted numerous sensitive and strategic Israeli military intelligence and industrial centers in the occupied territories. I'm reading from what Iran has written on their attack. Iranian officials had warned that the American aggression would not go unpunished. Prior to the attack, it had also warned all regional countries against allowing their soil to be used by the U.S. for any act of aggression against the Islamic Republic of Iran. Let me say this too. That has to be something. I think this was twofold. Probably more than the message to the Americans. The message to the Americans is we don't want to fight, but we're not afraid for a fight. If you're going to do this, we'll do it. Let's do it. If that's what you want to do, let's do it, right? But they're also sending messages to these Gulf monarchs, many of whom, have some level of political instability, many of whom the people there are, don't want trouble. They're living real easy. They got easy lives. Some places they don't even work. They just get oil money, right? So they don't want to fight. And the message is clear. You don't want to be in this. Let me continue. In a separate statement, the Supreme National Security Council said the operation on Monday was in response to the brazen and aggressive act by the United States against Iran's nuclear facilities carried out by the powerful armed forces of the Islamic Republic. The number of missiles used in this successful operation, it said, matched the number of bombs the U.S. regime employed in its attack on Iran's nuclear facilities. The statement added that the base targeted by Iran's capable forces was located far from urban infrastructure and residential areas in Qatar without posing any threat to Qatar. The Islamic Republic of Iran remains committed to maintaining and continuing its warm and historic relations with Qatar, he stated. Ahead of the operation on Monday, Qatar authorities had ordered the closure of its airspace, and the U.S. Embassy in Doha had also evacuated its staff. It sounds to me, now, what does it sound to me? It sounds to me like they told them they were going to hit it. It sounds like to me. I'll tell you what it sounds like to me. Based on everything that happened in Iran, the Iranians took all of their stuff out of the bases. The Iranians, from what we're told, they like filled, there's tunnels that go down to the facilities and Isfahan and Fordo, etc. From what we're told, I think they filled them with cement or something. From what we're told, the tunnels that go down to the facilities were filled with like cement and steel or whatever. So the whole thing was sorted. They took everything out of it, all the equipment and the centrifuges out before the U.S. is bombed. They took all of the fissile material was taken out before the Americans bombed. The people, everything was gone. They took the paper, the stapler, you know, the water bubbler, you name it, all of that stuff was gone before the U.S. bombed, which sounds to me like they had not, the U.S. may not have told them, but through some interlocutors, I think the message got to them that they were going to be bombed, and they were going to be bombed last weekend. Meanwhile, this is the telling statement. Ahead of the operation on Monday evening, Qatari authorities had ordered the closure of its airspace. So they let them know, hey, we're going to bomb you. Make sure there's no civilian planes flying. We wouldn't want something bad to happen to them. And the U.S. Embassy in Doha had also evacuated its staff. So they said, we're going to hit you there. Hey, so here's what it tells me. That the Iranians weren't really trying to kill Americans, that they don't have any real plan to kill Americans. They don't have a desire. They don't have this evil, let's do them to them like they're doing to the people of Gaza. But what they do want to do is demonstrate their resolve as an independent sovereign nation to say, you cannot violate our airspace. You cannot just come in and bomb us. And there will be something. So let's see if we can find. I got some video provided by the Iranians. Let's see what we can, let's take a look at it. So we got some, this is apparently video of Operation Tidings of Victory. You ready? Looks like a missile or something of some type. Something's going on here. All we saw was a missile. Okay, that was it. It looks like, yeah, you see there's a missile. Oh, I saw another one up top. So yeah, they're showing it's a little bit of incoming missiles. Let's see, that's a missile. Oh, let's look at this one. You can see the sky light up a little bit. I think I saw a hit. Yeah. You just saw a little something light up. So here's the bottom line. They're not putting out this, we blew the Americans to smithereens stuff, right? It's more like they struck us, we struck back. Apparently, the Iranian foreign here's what's interesting also. Iranian's foreign minister meets Putin, commends Russia's stance after Israel, U.S. aggression. So apparently the Iranians went in and met the Russians today. So their foreign minister met the Russians. I would imagine that the Russians were advised what was going to happen. It appears that I don't think based on what I hear, it doesn't sound like Americans were killed or anything. It sounds like there was notifications given to Qatar, to the Americans, to everybody. That in a nutshell, the same thing the Americans did, which was flew in to, bomb some cactus on the side of the mountain. It certainly sounds like that's what we're getting so far. It sounds like we're getting the Iranians who are coming in and what's the old saying, an even swap ain't no swindle. Apparently also Iran's top military general is vowed to continue retaliatory operations against Israel regime with full force until Benjamin Netanyahu is, quote, brought to... I have to crack. The Iranians crack me up the way they speak, right? It says Iran's top military general has vowed to continue retaliatory operations against the Israeli regime with full force until Benjamin Netanyahu is brought to utter hopelessness. You got to laugh at the way they put things. Yes. He says it says they characterized U.S. President Donald Trump's involvement in the war against the Islamic Republic as a desperate effort to rescue the Zionist regime, particularly Netanyahu, who he described as America's failing proxy. Major General Side says, regardless of the extent of the damages incurred, which apparently, now that's the other thing, apparently there wasn't much damages. So the Iranians have said, regardless of the extent of the damages incurred, the very nature of the crime, which is the U.S. attack on their nuclear sites, will not go unanswered. They're saying Trump, having witnessed Netanyahu's collapse. I always laugh the way they talk. Trump, having witnessed Netanyahu's collapse under the weight of defeat, decided to give him artificial respiration through this reckless act, Major General Musavi said. The aggression came. Okay, so basically what they're saying, bottom line. So that's where we are right now. Now, I know, okay, we got some more. You ready? Reuters. It's exactly as I thought. U.S. authorities had prior information that Iran was preparing a strike on the U.S. Al Udeid air base in Qatar. Axios report citing a source. Another source stated that the U.S. had very good advance warning about the strike. And I think the Iranians, they don't really want to go kill a bunch of people. I think the Iranians are just saying, look, hey, the Iranians just said this ain't going away. Now, Dmitry Medvedev has said something. His response to Donald Trump's Truth Social rant. Here's what Medvedev says. Regarding President Trump's concerns, I condemn the U.S. strike on Iran. It failed to achieve its objectives. However, Russia has no intention of supplying nuclear weapons to Iran because, unlike Israel, we are parties to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, right? Iranians, Tehran has decided to punish by all means those who carried out strikes on Iranian territory. The Iranian defense minister said during his conversation with the Russians. Apparently, the Iranian defense minister held a phone call with his Russian counterpart, Belushev, his Russian counterpart. So that's where what we have so far. We got something else. Kuwait and Iraq, the Kuwait and Iraq, following their neighbors, are closing their airspace. Interesting. So it could be that they're going to hit a bunch of bases, 3 bases. It could be they're going to hit the same number of targets. As I said, what the Iranians have come out and said is we hit you with the same number of missiles that you hit us. But so now we have the Kuwait and Iraq closing their airspace. Now, it could be simply that because they have American bases, they're closing their airspace. It could also be that the Iran has notified them too. Hey, look, you know, we've decided to work with the U.S. to get rid of our missiles one salvo at a time, and you're going to be the recipient of some of them. We've got the Speaker of the Iranian parliament has announced that lawmakers are preparing to pass a bill that would suspend cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency. I knew that was coming. So now here's the deal. Donald Trump said, all right, we attacked Iran. We bombed them. Now they'll come to their senses. You know, he doesn't understand the Shiites, but now they'll come to their senses and they'll come and they'll take the deal that we've offered them, which is basically do what we tell you or else. Well, I think the Iranians have answered that, don't you? Number one, they fired missiles at your bases. Number two, after firing missiles at your bases, apparently they've said, we are not going to cooperate with the IAEA. And why would they? Apparently the IAEA has worked with the U.S. empire to screw over Iran. Apparently, they used information and names that they had to give to Israel so that Israel could commit assassinations. Apparently, think about this. The U.S. bombed 3 locations, right? The U.S. bombed 3 bases, right? All 3 of those bases, nuclear installations, all three of them were regularly inspected by the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA. So these are bases that the IAEA inspected. The Iranians allowed more inspections by the IAEA than any country on earth. The Iranians did everything they could to go along with the law, and the U.S. made up cooked up a lie and bombed them anyway. So the Iranians are saying, screw you. Guess what? Ain't going to work. So now what's the U.S. going to say? Well, you better do it. The Iranians have made it clear. We don't want trouble. But we've been preparing for 20 years, 25 years for you bastards to attack us. If that's what you're going to do, let's dance. You know, it's some guy says, you little chump, you better give me your wallet. And the guy says, oh, I ain't giving you my wallet. But if you want my wallet, you're going to have to take it. If you're ready to fight, let's fight. If you want to talk, we can talk. If you want to negotiate, we can negotiate. But we ain't negotiating over that wallet. We'll fight over the wallet. That's not a negotiating point. My red line is no. And the Iranians apparently are enforcing their red lines. I wonder what was said with the Russians today. Let me add this. Apparently, one of the things that the Russians have said about the Iranians when asked what they would provide for the Iranians, apparently President Putin, in one manner or another, said, well, it depends on what they ask for. I would imagine they'll ask for air defense support, air defense help. Let's see if we got anything else. Let me keep looking, see if we got anything else. Let's see. Okay, we got something else. It says, for the first time, IRGC used multi-warhead Goddard-H missiles against the, as they refer to the Zionist entity. So apparently they used multi-warhead Goddard ballistic missiles for the first time during the latest phase of Operation True Promise 3. So they're still smacking away at the Israelis and using various stuff with them. Let's see. The Pentagon now has confirmed it. The Pentagon confirmed that a U.S. military base in Qatar was attacked by short and medium range missiles launched from Iran. No U.S. personnel were injured. At least 3 missiles hit the U.S. base in Qatar. Iranian broadcaster IRA reports that at least 6 missiles had hit the base. So, of course, it's probably, you know, if one says 3 and the other says 6, it was probably 3. Probably. How about this? Let's go with 4. Iran says listen to this. This is something you would think of. The strikes, okay. They were successful. Listen to this. Iran has coordinated the missile strikes on the U.S. base with Qatari authorities and gave a warning in advance to avoid casualties, the New York Times reports. What more could they ask for? Let's be honest. What a very civilized thing to do. Extremely civilized things to do. They literally, so now the New York Times are reporting that they may not have did it with the U.S., but they told the Qataris, look, we're getting ready to bomb these damn bases. And if you want to let the Americans know, that's up to you. But let's see. A Pakistani defense minister says the U.S. strikes are completely unjustified. Iran is not a nuclear power, does not seek to become one. That's the Pakistani defense minister. Pentagon's confirmed no U.S. personnel were injured. We got that. The Iranians just say they will not leave any violation of the country's territorial integrity unanswered. Now, they say it is a response to the American attack. They call it, the name of this operation is called Good News of Victory. So witnesses are saying that sounds of explosions shook their houses in the northern part of Qatar's capital. Yeah, apparently it appears that they sent notifications out. Look, it looks like that's where we are. So now the question is, what next? What is Donald W. Obama, Biden, Trump, and Yahoo going to do? Now he still has an out, right? Now, apparently, according to Wall Street Journal, as I said, he listened to Lindsey Graham, and Lindsey Graham said to him, look, here's what you need to do. You need to attack the U.S. You need to attack Iran, and it'll make you look tough. And there's a new sheriff in town. This is Wall Street Journal in an article that according to them. Now think about this. According to the Wall Street Journal, it was done as a symbolic attack. According to them, Lindsey Graham said, you need to show there's a new sheriff in town. In other words, Biden was weak and you're strong. Think about that. To launch an illegal, unprovoked act of war, that's casus belli. That's an act of war. To fly over another country and bomb, even if you told them you were doing it or not, to do that. And the news in this country, a newspaper comes out and says he did it to show he's a tough guy. If he did do it to show, which is sick. But all you got to do is watch a Ted Cruz to understand the stupidity of these bastards. But to see that and to hear that he did it to show that he's tough. Now, here's the question. Iran's punched back. Now Iran's shown that they're tough. But what did Iran do? Iran didn't kill anybody. You didn't kill anybody. Iran didn't kill anybody. So what'd you do? You attacked and bombed some open spaces and said, ha ha, look how tough we are. Iran said, how hard is that? You told us you were going to bomb something? Okay, look, that's easy. Hey, guys, we're going to bomb your bases. Bam. So you bomb some of our bases, we bomb some of your bases. All right, we're straight, we're even. Now it's on you. So now what does Donald Trump would do? Because the neocons are going to scream, oh my God, we got to go to war. Because the deal is this. The U.S. and Israel can hit you, but you're not ever allowed to hit back. They can launch an illegal attack against international law of aggression against you, but you're not allowed to hit back. They can commit genocide, but you're not allowed to complain. In fact, in this country, you're not even allowed to protest. You're not allowed to exercise your First Amendment rights. You can do it against the United States. You can say the United States is suck. I hate you. This sucks. I hate the United States. Everything they do is wrong. And they'll go like, hey, that's your First Amendment. But as soon as you say, and I kind of feel the same way about Israel, boom, you're gone. Straight to El Salvador. You're not allowed to say that. You have no First Amendment rights. If you can't criticize Israel, you have no First Amendment rights. And now the Vice President of Israel, Donald J. Trump, is now been pushed into a corner by the Iranians. Now, apparently, and I'm also hearing that the Iranians apparently that and if you didn't hear this yet, so I'm hearing that the Iranians have said that the Israelis rather have sent some questions to the Iranians and said, we want to, maybe in a couple of days, dial this thing down. And the Iranians have said, we're going to continue forward. I think what the Iranians are saying is this: you attacked us. And what do you think you're going to do? You're going to attack us. You're going to kill us. You're going to threaten us with nuclear attacks. You're going to threaten to kill the supreme leader of our country, a religious figure in our country. You're going to slaughter civilians. And then you're just going to wake up one day and say, okay, let's both go home. I think Iran is going to say to Israel and the United States, we want reparations. We want pay. We want somebody has to be held accountable. I think the Iranians are going to go to the United Nations Security Council. I think the days when the U.S. and Israel could simply do anything they wanted to do, attack anybody they wanted to attack, anywhere they wanted to attack them, and nobody was going to push back, are over, gone, finished. Those days are done. Let me see. Thomas Massey now says he's got a war powers resolution. It has 57 co-sponsors. Whether you like it or not, Congress will be voting on U.S. hostilities in Iran. The president is required to withdraw from hostilities in Iran within 60 days unless he gets a vote from Congress. That's something. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, well, that was 2 hours ago when she says we're not for regime change, we're for America first. Let's see. Let's look at Qatar. Let me see. Iran officials said to hit U.S. air bases with the same number of missiles that the U.S. used on Iranian nuclear sites. Airspace closed across the Gulf following Iranian strikes. So who knows if there's more coming. We've got this guy writes, Peter Shahzad Salim Raja says, first of all, this attack was not on Qatar. Second, the U.S. military bases were for the defense of Qatar. Otherwise, these bases should not have been used for aggression against any country. U.S. bases in the Asian continent have become a threat to the peace of Asia. In the recent U.S. attack on Iran, missiles were fired from U.S. bases in Qatar at Iran's nuclear site. Qatar should review its defense agreement with the U.S. or terminate the defense agreement with the U.S. I assure you that there's no threat to Arab countries from Iran. So think about that. There's a message going out to these Arab countries, and these Arab countries could be in trouble. Let me tell you why. There are numerous Arab countries where upwards of 98% of the people are sympathetic with the Palestinians. Pretty much everybody, where they disagree with their government, but they just have oppressive regimes. They have exactly what the United States claims that Iran is, right? Oppressive regimes that people have no say. So these governments have a tenuous grip on power, shall we say. They understand that if things go bad, they understand if there's a broad and wider war, that it is quite possible that things could go bad for them. They could be overthrown and their heads could be cut off, because that's the way things are done in that part of town. So I think that in firing missiles at Qatar, the Qatari people are going to look up and say, what the hell's going on? Why are we in the middle of this fight? Why are we in the middle of a fight on behalf of the Zionist entity, as they call it? What did we do? We don't even agree with what they're doing. Why do we have missiles? And they're going to say to their government, why is this going on? We don't like this. We don't want this to go down. So the other thing that's interesting is, let's see. Anything else? We see 6 missiles. Looks like we got, what's this look like? Okay. Looks like let me see if I can. That. Let's go here. There we go. That's Qatar. As you can see, you know, these beautiful glass cities on the Gulf, they're absolutely gorgeous and all of that stuff. But from the looks of things, there are missiles flying over. Some of the missiles were shot down, but apparently some of the missiles did strike. And yeah, there we go. You see that? There's missiles flying overhead. Let me tell you what, if you're living in one of them darn glass cities, you are probably not thrilled about that site. I can tell you that much right now, because you know if they come down and hit, let me see. Jackson Hankle. Let's see what old JH says. Jackson Hankle says, people ask, why would Iran do a symbolic attack on U.S. bases if the U.S. will likely respond with attacks of their own? The truth is the U.S. will attack Iran again no matter what. Trump was tweeting last night about regime change. If Iran keeps bombing the hell out of Israel, the U.S. will eventually strike Iran again. Don't be naive. Let's see. Yeah, so there's the news out of the Middle East. I see ships, oil tankers are changing their routes near the Straits of Hormuz. UN warns that some Israeli acts might be against the law. No. NATO boss tells Iran not to make nuclear weapons. Also, another thing of great consequence, good old Kier Starmer. Apparently, Kier Starmer has said that if American soldiers are attacked in the Middle East, then that will be the equivalent of Article 5. In other words, Article 5 is no longer on a NATO, it's anywhere. In fact, I guess if a U.S. Astronaut on the moon slips and stubs his toe, I guess NATO can go attack the moon. Apparently, they're basically saying that NATO is what we know it is. It is a worldwide imperialist war machine for the U.S. And Kier Starmer is just saying that. That also tells us something else, and that is, let me see. I'm looking if I see anything else popping up. Let me see something here. Okay. Reporters, quote, "We've been waiting to hear from President Trump about Iran's attack on the U.S. base in Qatar, but the president's first social media post since the strikes is a complaint about the media skepticism of his statement about Iran's nuclear sites were totally obliterated. Trump criticized CNN, ABC, and NBC, calling them sleaze bags." So people are waiting for Trump to say something. So apparently Trump, we got nothing from Trump so far. But I agree with Jackson Hinkle from that perspective. And that is, apparently, people are saying, or starting to question, it was foolish. Now, keep in mind something. I was one of the people that said, I don't think, as a lot of people did, a lot of pundits said the same thing. The U.S. is trying to bait Iran into attack and kill U.S. troops. So they'll have casus belli, right? They can then say American troops have been killed and we can attack. So Iran really, shall we say, killed two birds with one stone. And right? So what they said was, okay, we'll attack American bases. So they did attack American bases, okay? But they didn't bite the hook because they didn't hurt any Americans. They told the Americans they were going to hit the base. Two can play at this game. You're going to try to bait us in by violating our sovereignty and bombing us, but not killing anybody, not really doing anything, but coming up with a PR crap where we know what you're going to do. We move everything out of the bases. We fill the entrances to all of these facilities with cement. And then you drop a couple bunker buster bombs or something all in different spots. And then nothing happens and you walk away and you've baited us. And now we got to respond. And if we kill Americans, which, you know, sadly and pathetically, these people want them to kill American soldiers. So they'll have the equivalent of a false flag. I think it's brilliant what the Iranians did. What a great chess move. They struck without really giving the Americans what they want. It's like shooting down a drone. You shot down an American aircraft, but there was no pilot in it. So, hey, no problem. We shot down your aircraft, but we didn't hurt a pilot, right? Well, what are the Americans going to scream about now? Darn, they blew up some stuff in our drone. They did to us what we did to them, and we didn't hurt anybody, and they didn't hurt anybody. But here's the key. Because Iran is not trying to be the world's hegemon. Iran is not trying to show that there's a new sheriff in town. They're not trying to show how tough they are. Iran's not trying to show that they're in control of everything and everybody in the world has to be scared of them. All Iran's saying is, if you punch me, I'll punch you back. I'm not the biggest. I'm not the strongest. I'm not the fastest. Any of that. But I can punch back. And if you hit me, I'll punch back the same as you. Now, Trump is backed into a corner. For two reasons. Number one, they didn't hurt anybody. Now you attack them. Realistically, Trump, here's Trump's options. He can attack another. He can say to them, hey, guys, I'm going to drop some bombs in the woods and go drop some bombs in a wooded area where nobody is and blow up the wooded area and then say, okay, we retaliated. And then, of course, you know what happens. The Iranians will say, all right, we're hitting a base in Iraq. We're going to hit it at 2:15 p.m. So make sure there's nobody there and hit the base. And I think Iranians are willing to play that game. I think they're willing to play the game and see it's chicken. It's see who blinks first. Right. So they didn't hit a ship. Now, don't get me wrong. There's more false flags around there than sand. So the United States, if the Iranians won't kill some American soldiers, don't think that the Iranians and the Israelis won't, because they just might. Right. So that's a possibility. But for now, let me think. Where was the game of chess invented? Oh, that's right. It was invented by the Persians in Iran. They invented this game of chess. And you think you're going to beat them in a game that they invented? I don't know why I didn't think of this, or none of us thought of this. I heard Larry Johnson. I heard so many people that I had so much respect for, and we were all dumbfounded. We all just said, They don't have to cover the Straits of Hormuz, close the Straits of Hormuz, because some of their allies would be hurt. It would be problems. They'd be better off to simply, because if a lot of that oil goes to Asia and China, various Asian countries, and that are allies of them would be hurt. A lot of countries, if you think of this, and this is what Iran has to be particularly concerned about, that most of the world, and all of the global South at least, and most of the world and a lot of people in the West see them as the aggrieved party. Most people in the world look at this and they say, hey, they didn't hurt anybody, they didn't break any laws, and Israel attacked them out of the blue. That's just wrong. So everybody's on their side. Hey, man, you've been done wrong, right? People that maybe didn't even like Iran before are now saying you've been done dirty. That ain't right. Okay, so they got everything on their side. And had they done something to kill Americans or something like that, it's possible they could have lost some of that sympathy, number one. Number two, if they close the Straits of Hormuz, the people are going to be hurt by it in various countries. People who are already their allies. As I said, the Asians, a lot of Asian countries need that oil. So a lot of Asian countries would be saying, dude, we need you to open it. Now, as was also said, they could selectively say some ships can go through, some ships can't go through. That's an option and probably one they're considering. But they took the easiest thing out, right? And that is that they simply said, we're just going to do what the Americans did, tit for tat. Let's see what we got here. Something's popping up. According to the New York Times, citing Pentagon sources, the American military base in Qatar reportedly sustained no damage following the recent Iranian attacks. I think what we're seeing is the Americans, they're saying we got no damage. I think the Americans are hesitant right now. We just can't get any response. Now listen to this. One of the things that they wanted was they wanted the Iranians, to overthrow their government. We got something here. A bunch of Iranians, says Iranians gather in Valyasar Square to celebrate the retaliatory missile strikes on U.S. base in Qatar. Listen to this. Breaking news, New York Times. Trump does not intend to respond to Iranian attack on a U.S. base in Qatar. Interesting, isn't it? Interesting, isn't it? Trump doesn't intend to respond. That's big. Let me tell you why. One of the things that a lot of us who had suspected at this point was me, being cynical. That's big. So Trump does not intend to respond to Iranian attack on a U.S. base in Qatar. Okay. Being cynical, there were two schools of thought on the attack on Iran. The first was that it was bait. It was bait. It was trying to bait the Iranians into hitting a U.S. base so the U.S. would have an excuse for getting in. They wanted to get in, and Israel wants them in. The second, of course, was that now, and I didn't ascribe to this, but the second was this, and there were people who still have some faith belief in Trump, and it was Trump wants out, that he's pushed into a corner by the neocons. Therefore, he's got to do something. So he's going to bomb some empty fields and get the hell out of there as quick as he can. Now, my point was, they put all of these missiles and planes and all this crap in the region and an armada of ships. They didn't put them there for nothing. They put them there to attack Iran. They intend to attack Iran. So right now, if you look at the evidence, you say, okay, they hit Iran, Iran hit back. So everybody got their pound of flesh, as it were. If Trump is saying we're not going to retaliate, that tells me that there's a handshake here. That, look, I'm out of it. You're out of it. I got my punches in. Neocons, you asked me to bomb them. I bombed them. What else do you want? Right now, we know that the U.S. intends to do Iran dirty, but maybe they ran into a bit more than they bargained for. I think Trump knows. He's looking at the oil prices. He's looking at the stocks, and he said, "Man, if this thing goes sour." I'm already in a world of political trouble. Trump is in a world of political trouble. His base is furious at him. His base is abandoning him. All he needs right now is to get in a full war with Iran and see the price of oil go through the roof. And his base, look, think about the political trouble is in. Trump's already got the liberal world has gone bananas. They've got this fake, no kings bull crap out, and they're all out in the street. They don't even know what they're screaming and yelling about, but they're screaming and yelling. Okay. So you got this huge chunk of people that just hate Trump no matter what. Trump is the devil. They hate Trump. They're there. Then you got a bunch of people who are kind of apolitical, shall we say, who've given up. But then you got Trump's base. Yay, we love Trump. Now, here's the truth, whether Trump knows it or not. I think he does. You take the big base of people that hate Trump, and you take a portion of his supporters that say, damn it, we've been lied to, we've been had, and they step aside. He's naked. He's naked. And right now, I think Trump is kind of politically naked. He kind of is. He's saying stuff like, oh, the Republican Party has never been more than unified. No, it hasn't. You got people ready to vote on bills to say you can't do this and you haven't done this. I think Trump is politically, he's backed into a corner and he's in bad shape. And apparently it seems to be just some kind of a handshake move. To me, it seems to me that we're gotten to a point where there's not going to be now, CNN is saying the Iranian missiles did not hit their intended targets. I don't know about that. Of course, CNN's going to say that. Let me see. I'm not seeing anything new. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything new so far. Doesn't look like we got any new news. Anything? Let's see. Let's see if there's anything. We'll look on Telegram for Trump. That's pending. Let's look on Telegram. I don't see anything happening. It doesn't look like Trump is saying much of anything. Somebody said, if you decide to play with fire, don't get screamed at the whole world when you get burned. A U.S. official tells Fox News no U.S. service members have been injured or killed in the attack. 5 minutes ago. Okay, here's something we got. Iran coordinated the attacks on the American air base in Qatar with Qatar officials and gave advance notice that attacks were coming to minimize casualties. We've already said this, according to 3 Iranian officials. The officials said Iran symbolically needed to strike back. Interesting. And this is what I thought. These Iranian officials apparently said Iran symbolically needed to strike back at the U.S., but at the same time carry out in a way that allowed all sides an exit ramp. They're smart people. They described it as a similar strategy to 2020 when Iran gave Iraq heads up before firing ballistic missiles at an American base in Iraq following the assassination of its top general. So now that's what we're getting. We're getting that. Yeah, that's what it appears. So that's what this was. Apparently, it was they're maintaining their dignity at the same time. And this is smart. I mean, this is what the Russians do. You provide an exit ramp. I think what they call it, the golden highway, the golden exit, whatever it is, right? The golden bridge, whatever it is that Sun Tzu talked about. When we are fighting an enemy, give your enemy an avenue to escape. I think they've done this and they gave Trump an exit ramp. Now we'll see what happens now. I think there's fear. Now, the more important thing I think is, I think the Israelis, I can't find anything on that. I think the Israelis, I believe the Israelis have tried to ask Now, here we go. This is breaking. I don't have anything for sure on this, but I've seen it a few places, and this is possible. Breaking news. Israel informed Iran it wants to end the war, but Iran rejected and replied that the time has not yet come. Now, I don't know that that's true, but I will say that I have read that in a couple of different things, in a couple of different places. There we go again. Israel sent a message to Iran it wants to end the war. I keep seeing that pop up in a bunch of different places, that the 48 seconds, Iran to launch another attack on Israel. So it appears that yep. So it appears a couple of things are going on. The Iranians are dealing with the U.S. on a one-to-one basis, that the Israelis are contacting. And I thought so, because look, if the U.S. comes in or not, I don't think the Iranians, let's say the U.S. comes in and attacks Iran. Here's the deal. Even if you listen to the language that the Americans say, they say, we're going to strike Iran. We're going to strike this country. We're going to strike. It implies a one-off, right? What the U.S. does is, and everybody knows, even what they've done. They brought all of these ships, these armadas, and all of that. What does that imply? It implies that their attack on Iran would be a gigantic attack, firing several hundred Tomahawk missiles, dropping bombs, doing all this kinds of stuff, right? But as I said, if they flew in Iran, I think they lose planes. So they would be more likely to do what Israel's doing, which is drones or firing things from a distance. But here's the deal. If the U.S. attacked Iran, it would be, and Iran has cleared everything they can out to allow anything they could think may be a target. So what would happen? The U.S. would come in on a given day and throw everything they have at Iran. Boom, 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 boom. Iran would absorb the hits, having prepared and cleared everything out. Iran would then retaliate. They would have taken all the hits, and they would retaliate in a measured way. Okay, they would retaliate. Why do I say in a measured way? Because they want to wait you out. They know America swings a big one, and they don't have a whole lot behind it. They can't keep this up a long time in a war of attrition. What the Russians have shown, what the Vietnamese showed, what we see about the U.S. empire is it's like a alligator. It's a big, slow, lumbering giant. That's its military. You ever see an alligator? An alligator is huge and it's full of muscle. And an alligator can run fast for short bursts. Giant, full of muscle. Boom, 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 boom. And then try to bite you. If it doesn't get you, those muscles build up a lactic acid. It's got to stop and rest before it gives it another shot, because it burns up a lot of energy, builds up a lot of lactic acid. Now it has to rest. But for one explosive attack, that's what it can do. It can launch an explosive attack, right? That's the U.S. empire. The U.S. can launch an explosive attack. Boom, 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 boom. But keeping it up over the long term is tough, for a number of reasons, not the least of which being the weakness of our military industrial complex to continue to produce things at a high rate. We can produce a lot, build it up, and then we're ready to fire it, but not at a long rate. And I think the Iranians' plan is the Americans are coming for us. And when they do, we'll lay back and absorb that first pop hit. And then we'll see how long they want to keep these planes and missiles and stuff here. We're going to hit we're going to hit their bases, all their bases in the region. And they use short range and intermediate range missiles. According to the Iranians, they got a lot of short range and intermediate range missiles, which would make sense because their plan is not to fight Israel. Their whole plan was to fight the United States, and that's short range and intermediate range, I'm sure, and additionally probably a lot of ship killer missiles, right? A lot of those anti-shipping missiles, a lot of that stuff prepared for the U.S. So we shall see. Anything else? Let me look again. Hebrew Channel 12. Israel is preparing for a very large Iranian response starting from tonight. And for this reason, the Home Front Command has decided not to ease the instructions. Let's see. So it looks like the Iranians are about to, interesting enough, oil dropped a little bit. it looks like the Iranians are about to throw another salvo of missiles, or in the process of throwing another salvo of missiles towards the Israelis. Let me see. So it looks to me, yeah. Apparently, the Iranians are saying, quote, their Minister of Defense, the Brigadier General Aziz Nazirzada, says, we will not accept an imposed peace with Israel. It looks like that. Yeah. So, bottom line, they're standing their ground. They're standing their ground. The Iranians are saying, you started this war, we'll decide when it's over. The Iranians are saying, you're not going to come in here and tell us what we got to take. So here's what that means. Donald Trump's whole stuff about, okay, Iran, you're going to get it now, and we'll strike you again, and you better take this deal now, or else there could be regime change. Apparently, what Iran is defiant. They're holding their spine stiff, and they're saying, look, we'll do a symbolic attack back, just to let you know. You did a symbolic attack, we'll do a symbolic attack. Fair enough, we'll let you go. What would be interesting about that is, apparently, I guess they fired 6 missiles for the 6 bombs that were dropped. However, the number of bombs were dropped, they fired that number of missiles, whatever it is. But apparently, they said that they told the Americans that the missiles were coming, and I saw a video of 1 or 2 of them hit. So apparently they told that the Americans were going to fire we're going to fire some missiles at you. The American air defenses were prepared. The Qatari air defenses were repaired, and some of the missiles still got through. So I imagine if they don't tell them that they're coming, could be bad. Anything with Trump, there's not a lot going on in Telegram. I'm just trying to fill you in here. I don't see anything. One last check before I jump off. Okay, here's something. We got a couple things. U.S. State Department. Oh, forget that. Okay, it looks like everything there. We've got, what's this? Iran is going to, their defense minister says Iran is going to punish the aggressor by any means necessary. It does not intend to accept any kind of forced peace. It is clear that Iran is not fighting just against Israel, pointing out that the U.S. and some other countries support Tel Aviv. Listen to this. Trump's approval rating dropped to 41%, his lowest this term. A large majority of Americans also worry the conflict with Iran could spiral out of control following Trump's recent order to bomb Iranian nuclear sites. Iranians hold car rallies to celebrate the retaliatory missile strikes on U.S.-run allied air bases. Anything else? RI Navasta says Iran will continue retaliatory strikes in response to U.S. attacks. Israel and U.S. attacks must stop if these countries seek negotiations, the Iranian official adds. Let me see something from Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let's see. We got Iran says it used the same amount of missiles against al-Dawd as the amount of bombs dropped by the U.S. in Fordo. Let me see. I think that is it as far as I see. Okay, well, that's it, gang. As far as I see, thank you very much. I wanted to get on and report that as soon as possible. Thank you very much. Anybody who can follow me on Rumble, follow me on Rockfin, follow me on Telegram, Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of crap. Also, if you can afford it, of course, Patreon, buy me a coffee, whatever the case may be, if you can afford it. If you can't, that's fine. Just share this on all your social media platforms. You also see my P.O. box there. So if you can, You can send anything you want. If you want to send a book, if you want to send a magazine, if you just want to send a letter or card, if you want to send a donation, whatever you want to send, that's fine with me. The most important thing you can do is share this on all your social media platforms. Hit the like button. And as I always say, you are a very, very important part of the community of alternative news. So whether it's me or whoever it is, if you see a video and you feel that the video is good and is important and people need to see it, make sure you share that video on all your social media platforms. Thank you very much. I'm out.